everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'll be sharing with you my May bullet journal plan with me, and for this month I decided to go with a florist cafe theme. This was actually a cafe my friend and I went to one time, the Fluffy Cafe in Melbourne, if you're interested. But yeah, they had a really nice place. It's kind of like a florist and a cafe combined, so the atmosphere and the interior was definitely very aesthetic, and so I decided to make it my May theme. I actually had a pretty hard time picking out what I wanted to do for May because there wasn't a specific idea that really stuck out to me that I wanted to do. So I had a few. I think I started off with Alice in Wonderland, then I moved to coffee, and then I moved to tea, and then I decided to do this florist cafe theme, which I've never done anything like this before, so I thought that might be a cool idea to try out. So I started off by doing a quick sketch in pencil just so I had a rough idea as to where I wanted everything to be. For this theme, it was actually quite a last minute theme, so I didn't really have a lot of, a plan in my head as to what I wanted to do. So on the day I kind of just picked out a few colors and was like, oh, let's just use these. But you can definitely change up the colors into any color you want and how you want the theme to format as well. But yeah, basically I based it off of a photo of the cafe, and yeah. I'll also leave all the materials that I used in the description below, but for most of this theme I just used the Tombow dual brush pens, the Crayola super tip, and also the Pentel sign pen as well. As you can see, I did the colouring part of this really quickly, so I didn't exactly fill in every spot with colour, which I actually quite like the effect of. And then after that, I decided that the edges looked a bit bare, so I decided to add some washi tape since I have a pretty large washi tape collection that I never use for anything, so I thought that it'd be nice to add some of that in here. The washi tape I used was actually from AliExpress, and I thought it worked really well since the colours were kind of also the colours that were in the image I drew, and then around the image I just did a black kind of border to make it seem a bit like a Polaroid picture, and yeah. I also decided to try and add some tissue paper to my bullet journal, which I've never done before, and I actually really liked the effect of how this turned out. It was some gift wrapping that I had, and I thought that it'd be nice to incorporate it. So yeah, I found that the more crinkly the tissue paper looked, the better the effect. So if your tissue paper wasn't like scrunched up or something, you could try scrunching it up before putting it onto your bullet journal to give that kind of crinkled effect. For this month's quote, I decided to choose, "Be patient with yourself, nothing in nature blooms all year long," and I thought it was quite fitting with the whole flower kind of theme, and also because for this month I really want to focus on self-care and just making sure that I leave enough time to take care of myself. So I thought that was a pretty nice quote to kind of sum up my goal for this month. I also want to just say that I lost some of the footage that I filmed for this month. Like, I have no idea where they went, so sorry there are some parts that you won't kind of see me draw just because I don't know where the footage went. Moving on to the calendar spread, I decided to keep this month quite simple with just the calendar as kind of like a grid, and then last month I had a section which was like May events in April. So basically if I had anything that was going on for the next month, I could just write it down here, and I did the same thing, but this time I made it like a vertical column next to the calendar, which I think that might be a better kind of spot for it. And then around the calendar I just drew in kind of like leaves and things, which I actually didn't really like, but I just kind of will make do with it. But yeah, looking back, I would have probably either done like enlarged leaves, so that took up kind of like the whole background except for the calendar, or maybe something like hanging plants or like vases instead, because I wasn't a big fan of how this turned out. The next spread is actually something that I've never incorporated in my bullet journal before, which is a playlist spread, and I thought it'd be really nice to add it for this month since I've been listening to a lot of music lately. And this was actually the idea that I had before I chose this theme, which is also the reason why I did end up choosing this theme. Basically in the cafe there was kind of like this table with like stacked really kind of rustic drawers with like flowers popping out and like flowers on the table and everything, and I thought that was so cool, and that was actually the first thing I kind of envisioned when I was thinking about this theme, so I decided to incorporate it into my May playlist spread. To start off with, I did a pencil sketch of basically where I wanted everything to be, and because I thought the space above the table was quite bare, I decided to add in a kind of hanging shelf with like hanging plants to kind of connect the two sections together. This was actually the most time-consuming spread out of all the ones for this month, and I think in my head it did look a bit better than it did turn out just because of the colors. So if you are recreating with the colors that I used, I would say just be aware that it was a bit darker than I thought it would come out to be, so that's something to keep in mind if you don't really like really dark spreads, to kind of use browns that are a bit lighter or use different colors even, but yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. I also found for this section that you didn't really have to color in everything perfectly, just because I would cover it up with the album cover anyway, so I decided just to do this really quickly, and you can see in some areas that I didn't even color in the whole section at all, just because I was gonna stick the album cover on top of it anyways. Also, there is just something so satisfying about the sped up version of coloring in. Like, I don't know what is so satisfying about it, but that was really satisfying. And this is about the part where I lost a lot of footage because I completely didn't realize that my memory card ran out of storage, so all of this part didn't film, but I basically glued down all of the music I've been listening to in April, which is a lot of Demi Lovato songs. But yeah, on the opposite side of the page I decided to draw a very large version of kind of a flower arrangement, and I basically wanted this side of the page to kind of be why I chose these songs, because a lot of the songs that I listened to this month was quite meaningful to what I was going through at the time, so I really wanted to leave some space just to write down why I did choose to have those on my May playlist and kind of what they meant to me. The next page is the sleep tracker page, and I've been really enjoying having a sleep tracker because it kind of keeps me a bit more motivated to sleep earlier when I look at the times I am sleeping. But yeah, for this month I decided to change up the format a little bit and do kind of like a dangling flower kind of look. So like however long I sleep, that's gonna be how long the stem and kind of the flowers will kind of flow down, if that makes sense. But I thought that might be a really cool idea. I have no idea how it's gonna work, but that was just something that came to mind, and yeah. And then for the other side, I just have my social media and my brain dump, but I kept it pretty simple on the other side just because I didn't know how chaotic it would look with all the flowers. So yes, that's kind of my thought process there. So this part of the video was actually filmed across 2 different days just because I completely forgot about the fact that we have daylight saving, which means now the sun goes down at about like 5:30, and so this is why the lighting changes a little bit. But yes, I basically did a weekly spread which I tried in April and I really liked, but this spread basically includes the habits that I want to track and also the events column, which I love. But I found that with the whole kind of habits page, I never did them anyway, so I decided to put them on the weekly, which is something that I look at more often, and I found that I filled them out with this layout more than I did with the one when it was like a whole page by itself. When I did this for my April spread, I actually had Saturday and Sunday combined, so it was like weekend, but I find that I prefer having Saturday and Sunday separate. So if you do like having the weekend kind of combined together, you can just have the space where I wrote Saturday as the weekend, so you have more space to write out everything you want to do there. But to basically fill in the space at the top, I did another one of those kind of Polaroid picture style things like how I did on kind of the title of this month, and this time I just filled it in with flowers, and I'll probably fill it in with a quote, but I haven't quite decided what quote I want for that week yet, so that will probably come when the week comes. To finish off, I just did the border around the drawing again, and I also did it kind of like dotted, which I quite like the effect of, and then I added some washi tape at the top as well as the tissue paper, and I thought it turned out really good, and I think I would definitely start incorporating tissue paper into my weekly spreads. You can see with the tissue paper that I just glued down that it wasn't very crinkled, it was more like the smooth look, so it just depends on what you like, but I definitely think I prefer the crinkled look, so I'll probably like scrunch it up and add some on top the next time. But yeah. Another thing to look out for when you're gluing down the tissue paper is to make sure you don't get it stuck to your hands, because that was something I found quite tricky to get off once it did stick to my hands. Before we get into the reveal, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button and turn on post notifications. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!